Welcome to another episode of This Is Her America. In the last episode, I shared about the story of actor Christian Bale and his passion project, which is building a community with the goal of keeping foster siblings together. This story just melted my heart, and it was such a great miracle for the foster care community so I literally named the episode Batman Returns because not all heroes wear capes. Today, I want to talk a little bit more about the foster care system and some of the issues that stem from it. I think I don't need to go through the breakdown of what foster care system is or what it generally means, because for a lot of people, when they hear the term foster care, they generally know that it's kids placed in homes with a foster parent or a group home, or just housed with somebody who may not be related to them. Foster care isn't just an American issue. It is a universal issue. Foster care takes place in every nation across the world. It just looks a lot differently in other parts of the world based on what laws and what governments they might have, and how that impacts how different family, how that might impact how family life is in that particular part of the world. Here in America, since there are 50 states, there are 50 different foster care systems. Yes, there are federal regulations and laws that each state needs to follow by. But when it comes to the foster care system, state and local laws and policies heavily affect how child protective services, including social departments, are run, definitely impacting families. So what is the goal of foster care? Well, the goal of foster care is reunification, which seems like the best thing to do, to place a child with their family and keep the child with their blood family. However, in some stories, that might not always be the best scenario. There is an investigative journalist who goes by the name of Naomi Schaefer Riley. She wrote a book called No Way to Treat a Child. And she highlighted how some policies that were created with good intentions actually hurt foster kids. This happens because a lot of these policies are built on the concept of social justice. And if you know me and know anything about my politics, I don't really cater to a lot of social justice antics. So when I watch an interview she did with Alex Clark, and if you don't know who Alex Clark is, she's literally the host of Politics and her podcast, The Spillover, and she invites a lot of interesting guests each week to talk about issues stemming from true crime to health, to the food business, big food, big pharma, whatever it is. And I really enjoy listening to her episode. So back to Naomi Schaefer Riley. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. She wrote this book, and I've been, for the longest time, I've been meaning to read it because I want to be able to know more what's in this book. But a lot of the things that she writes about is how social justice policies hurt vulnerable children. So I'm going to put a note about her book in the link of this episode, so that way you all can check it out. And I'm also going to link the episode she did with Alex Clark. Let's talk about some of the statistics that go on in the foster care system. There is an article by actually on the website National Foster Youth Institute. They're an organization that helps empower the voices of both foster and former foster kids, and they post a list of statistics that are very general but do apply to a lot of people who age out of the foster care system. One statistic is more than 23,000 children will age out of the foster care system every year in the United States. After reaching the age of 18, 20% of the children who were in foster care will become instantly homeless. There is less than a 3% chance for children who age out of the foster care system to earn a college degree at any point of their life. 7 out of 10 girls who age out of the foster care system will become pregnant before the age of 21. The percentage of children who age out of the foster care system and still suffer from the direct effects of PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, is 25%. In 2015, more than 20,000 young kids whom states failed to reunite with their families or place in permanent homes. And these are some of the statistics that are coming from studies and research that people have done. In my personal life, I went into the foster care system at the age of 11. Before that, I was placed in what is known as kinship care. I was placed with my maternal aunt who had me for 1 year. And then from that point, I was removed from her home and placed in the child welfare system. And I was then placed in my first foster home. And since then, I went on to go into 3 foster homes. One was recip care, meaning that it was very short term, very temporary. So 3 foster homes and 1 recip care. And for some people, they hear my story and that they think that that's just rough. That's just rough right there. And I'd like to give them some credit, but I think 3 is very low compared to the numbers that I hear from other stories from fellow foster kids and people who have survived the foster care system. I aged out at 21. And because I aged out at 21 because in the state of Maryland, which I am from and where I grew up my whole life and was in the foster care system in the state of Maryland and including other states, they have what is called an independent living option, which means they can extend your care and they can extend your stay in the foster care system up to 21. And there's only, out of all the 50 states, there's only 26 states that allow for this, meaning that during that time, you can stay in the system, you can help receive your diploma or your GED or be enrolled in college. You can become more financially independent with the help of human resources and other services. The states besides Maryland that also have approval to extend foster care from 18 to 21 are Alabama, Arkansas, California, Connecticut, the District of Columbia, which is DC, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. And these states were highlighted by the website Child Welfare League of America. And they do a lot with advocacy, training, and just helping the public become more educated about the foster care system. So yeah, I think extended foster care is a good thing. And I definitely sure benefited from this. And I think it would definitely help with if every state had this approval, had extended foster care for all of their foster youth. So yeah, so based on the statistics, foster kids are most likely to end up homeless, sometimes jobless, even more likely to experience incarceration, being stuck to the welfare system, teen pregnancy, drug addiction. The list doesn't end. So I think about what are ways that we can do as a society, as a country, to help the most vulnerable among us, to help ensure that every kid who faces with the inevitable, being removed from their parent, that there is still hope for them. One way I think that we can change the foster care system in America is just simply more community involvement. There is nothing much more impactful and can improve the lives of so many foster kids when there is a whole community that wants to get involved, that wants to help them. Growing up in the foster care system, I always felt that there was some stigma around being, quote unquote, the foster kid, because it was always told to me that when I'm in school or wherever, people don't really have to know that I'm a foster kid. I could just keep that to myself. And that didn't really help me when it came to being able to socialize and want to be more open or want to be reaching out to people, because then I felt that I was just an outsider. Like everybody else around me has a family and a normal life, and I'm just by myself. So maybe it would help not to create such a stigma about being in foster care, because kids in foster care are no different from kids who are just raised in happy and normal household. Another thing is church involvement. I think I would like to see more churches involved in the foster care system, especially with the recruitment of foster parents. There are probably a lot of research based on this, but based on religion, there is nobody gets involved in the foster care system like the Catholics do. Like, I've done research on this, on different religions and who gets the most involved in the foster care system. And Catholics are really up there when it comes to their involvement in the foster care system. And that probably makes a lot of sense because they love being able to help kids and help the most vulnerable in our community. Another way I think of that could be much more impactful is law enforcement. I think we definitely need more crossover between law enforcement and social services. And when it comes to cases of child abuse, neglect, or violence, I think it's time for maybe turn the wheels and let law enforcement handle investigations, so that way there can be criminal charges that we can put accountability on abusers. One more other thing, I think when it comes to kids being in the system, I think there needs to be a limit on how long a kid needs to be in the system. Meaning that I'm tired of seeing kids grow up in the foster care system needlessly and continue as the court system continue to waste years because a parent doesn't want to get their act together. I think we need to push parents to get their act together if they want to be able to reunite with their kids again and be a parent in their lives again. I think putting a limit on how long a kid can be in the system would definitely be a motivation for parents to get their act together, so that way they can be involved in their children's lives. But that is in itself a policy issue. Oh, and I forgot one more other thing. I made several points. I think one of the big issues that I see in the foster care system is that social services give foster parents a check, a monthly stipend to help with the needs and expenses of the kids. Who knows if that's always going to the kid? I think one of the ways that I would like to see differently, instead of obviously it's okay for the foster parents to receive that stipend, but I also want to think about placing a savings account for the kids that are growing up in the foster care system, so that way if they grow up or they reunite with their family, they can have that savings account, or if they age out, they can then have a savings account that's in there for them. I know in some states they give you a big check when you age out the foster care system, but I really would like the idea of something that's like a saving account that starts from when the kid is entered into the foster care system to when they exit, so that way they're not homeless or they don't have no money, but they'll have something that is secured for them. So yeah, helping kids that are growing up in the foster care system and having a savings account. And that's all I have for you today. I hope that this is one of many episodes that I'll talk on that focuses on foster care issues. But yeah, I really enjoy talking about this subject because it's really near and dear to my heart. Well, that's all. Thank you for listening. And this has been Her America.